other places. Um, yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about Rumble. Uh, I really don't. I really don't know anything about Rumble. Um, everybody's gonna be getting notifications like through and through and through and through. Um, oh, what? No, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not definitely what I want to do. Uh, so I guess you guys can like hit that like button too on Rumble. Um, um, let me just leave it as that because I have no idea what's happening. And again, if people are over on the YT side of things, and if you guys are like leaving messages and stuff, really? So why did I? Okay, you know what? Never mind. Um, never mind. Um, this is why I should probably work this out ahead of time rather than being like, "Hey, let's do this right now." Um, but I am happy that there is a strong connection with Rumble. I'm really happy about that. Okay, so you know what? Um, I have no idea how to fix Twitch. No idea. This is why it's probably best to do that. By the way, I did not know that people can, I guess, automatically subscribe to you on Rumble. Um, let me fix this up and then I'll turn on my camera. Maybe. Let me get this party started because man, uh I do appreciate people listening to me ramble and stuff like that. Current bit rate. So I guess I don't know. I don't know what it is. Um, I really don't know. Okay. Hi guys. Um, let me just put it right here. I'm Marie Shadows. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, wow. Okay, so um, I guess let me just share this out. Do I know? Oh no, wrong thing. This is pulling in like a lot. Okay, so I I guess I don't know. I'm gonna say that I wasted like 15 minutes of your time, because I do know that like, um, streaming is important, and keeping your attention is very important, and introducing myself is very important, even though people over on the other sides of YT and Twitch already know who I am. And I appreciate everyone that's tuning in and stuff. Um, I have no idea about Twitch at this very moment because Twitch is giving me such an error, and it's really difficult for some odd reason. But yeah. So what I wanted to do today. Hey Chris, what's up? Uh AEW sucks for not putting a tribute out to Hulk Hogan, but Tony Schiavone did from the get-go. Yes, and yes. I did listen to Tony Schiavone talk about Hulk Hogan, and I really do think that was the most classiest, beautiful thing that he did. Um, that he did. It just kind of sucks that I don't want this to be like a war in a way, but it has been a very, very like culture war for no reason across the board. It's not even like a WWE versus AEW kind of deal. It's more like a culture kind of deal, but a very stubborn, not letting go of anything kind of culture deal. Um, if that makes any sense. But I totally like think that Tony Schiavone saying what he said was very, very, very beautiful. Tony Schiavone is old school wrestling, and I grew up watching him as a kid in the 1980s. I grew up watching him when I was tuning into WCW and whatnot back in the day. So yeah, man. But by the way, I do appreciate Chris, you being here over on the YT of things, and also if you're just tuning in on Rumble and just wanting to watch for some reason. Again, let me just reintroduce myself. I'm Marie Shadows. I'm a former WWE employee. I worked for WWE in 2018 on the WWE Network, which I really love. That was my working for WWE was my 7-year-old dream. For those that don't know, obviously you don't. I have to stop saying stuff like that or phrasing stuff like that, because most of the time people do not know. Um, but I will say that working for WWE was my dream. It's still my dream to go back and work for them, even though I love being a freelance helper and worker. Um, over to Major League Wrestling MOW, which this past summer over in June we wrapped up Summer of the Beast. August 9th is gonna be Blood and Thunder, so I'm going to be reviewing that with my buddy Dose Evil. And by the way, if I am like slowing down and basically my camera is slowing down, I think for now on I have to like pick and choose what I want. I definitely do think I want to stay on Rumble and also use like YT as well. Um, but yeah, this is taking up way too much energy and stuff like that. But that's just me. Anyway, but yes, I do freelance work. I worked on the indies. I have like vlogs and catalogs of talking about professional wrestling. I do have a podcast called the Square Circle Podcast, and I also have a new series coming out called the Crossroads series. I am trying to really, really, really understand the other one, Rumble. Rumble, the RUM place over here. I'm really trying to understand how to use it and what I could do. After this live stream, depending on how far that we go, I will be uploading some videos that I think will be very appropriate to have conversations about, because I never really wanted to include politics in my wrestling, but sometimes people just force your hand, and I'll get into that story in a little bit. um I'm gonna go back and read Chris's comments over here. Chris said, if it wasn't for AEW, Hulk Hogan wouldn't have made wrestling. That is true. Oh, excuse me. That is 100% true. Like, without what we know as professional wrestling, like if Hogan didn't come in at the time that he did and make it all about the sport, and did what he had to do, it wouldn't be it. AEW wouldn't be here. But then again, I don't want to make this into a WWE versus AEW thing, or like because of this person this happened, which is like a byproduct, which we all know. But I just don't want to make it into like a very, if it wasn't for this, then this. Um, uh, Chris says that Hulk Hogan is his favorite person since Bill Mercer, which I don't think I've heard that name. And then Chris was watching NWA Power instead of Collision last night. That's totally cool, man. Hogan, rest in peace, will be missed. Will definitely be missed. And I think, uh, yesterday, yesterday for me is when it really set in that, Hogan won't be with us. That he'll be in a better place. But yesterday really set in with me that he won't be here with us because I was taking a walk, in my neighborhood, and just randomly there was, I guess, a poet that was he was definitely a poet. I didn't want to say preacher because we do get a lot of preachers in the Bronx, but he was a poet, and he had a poem about Hulk Hogan, and it was a really nice poem to basically talk about Hogan's legacy and what Hogan meant to people, and like what he meant to like little kids growing up at the time when they could go home and pretend to rip their shirts and eat their vitamins and stuff like that. And I thought that was the most awesome thing to like really say in a poem. And then they started to play Hogan's theme song, and I was like, damn, that shit like really got to me. But it got to me in a, I guess, in a good way, but also in a way of acknowledging that, like, you sometimes have to say goodbye, even though he represents to be like immortal. And I think that the way that he affected everybody when it came to like values to believe in, I think that speaks volume, and that stays with people, no matter what. Sometimes people just want to be stubborn for the sake of being stubborn, and not necessarily understand, how to forgive people and whatnot. And there's a lot of like mixed messages. There's a lot of like new 19-year-olds to like 25-year-olds that have come into the wrestling space, especially on Twitter, in the little bubbles, and they have really decided to like stake their claim as, um, you know, as know-it-alls. Yet I have like burner accounts harassing me, telling me that I'm a know-it-all. And it's like, no, those 19-year-old kids that are in the space are actual, like, they try to be know-it-alls and stuff like that. But there's a lot of like new people that come into the space that end up seeing a bunch of stuff and like don't do any research for themselves, can't think for themselves. So the moment that somebody tells them something that is like, this is bad because it's bad, do not question it, they want to run with it, and they're just across the board a bunch of like just nasty stuff, rather than being like, oh, that's unfortunate that he passed. And then after everything, you could be as nasty as you want. But like the couple of days after that, just to be completely nasty for no reason, even though somebody would probably say there is a reason, there really is no reason if you can't like forgive somebody or understand that they were at their lowest point. Um, if they were at their lowest point in their life, you were also at your lowest point in your life. Not trying to compare the two situations. Just the idea of like, if somebody like Hogan, who was like at the top, had everything, had the MTV show. Did you guys forget about the MTV show where like, that put his whole life and family on display? And then for us as people who watched it, and I watched the whole entire series of like his family and stuff like that, and then for us to pick it apart, like that gets to a man, especially and then for us to pick it apart, like that gets to a man, especially an old school kind of man that the feminists don't want you to have anymore. But that gets to a man, and that gets to his thoughts, and then like, shit just happens. People just say shit. A lot of people say shit behind closed doors, and then like, to get that recorded, you basically somebody came in and recorded it without his knowledge and then put it on display again for people to pick it apart. And Hogan did the right thing by going over there and being like, I'm taking you to court, I'm winning this battle, and he stood against an injustice to him. Y2 Viral, what's up? Thank you for joining the chat. Rabbit, thank you for joining the chat too. Chris, I know that you are sending me lots and lots of messages. I will get to them eventually, but I just wanted to get this like rant out because it's been bothering me for like the past couple of days. And I did say earlier in the stream that like I never wanted to include some type of politics into when talking about wrestling. All of my podcast episodes have to deal with kayfabe. And if you guys don't know what kayfabe is, it's basically like to stay in character, to not break character, to not break the story, to not bring in any real world situations into what's happening. I've always wanted to be like, hey, what do you call it? We got to stick to kayfabe. We got to stick to the story. Such and such wrestler is being, a heel because of the story and stuff like that. But like, I never thought that I would have to talk about politics a little bit. And unfortunately, when you think that you have friends again in the podcasting world, that they just force your hand. They force your hand in a way where it's like not recognizing the stuff that you do within the wrestling business. I really don't. And the only reason why like I don't is because that age old thought process where it's like the things that you never talk about at the dinner table are like politics and religion. It's basically like that. But like I said earlier, that like we have a whole influx of like 19 to 25-year-olds who want to be activists 24/7, but they don't want to go out there and like actually do the work. It's like they rather they rather have that within the wrestling community, and then nobody checks them on their stuff. And then when people do check them on their misinformation that they're spreading around, they cry victim. They will throw all names at you. They will, some other people will come in and be like, they're only 17 and they're only a teenager and blah blah blah. Like, what do you do talking to a teenager? What do you do talking to a minor? And it's like, first of all, why are they on the internet? Second of all, why are you protecting them when, they're past the age of, not knowing right from wrong? When you have a baby and they're just born and they get to maybe like 5 years old, from like 0 to 5, they don't know what's right or wrong. It's totally okay. But then once they hit like 6 or 7 and you start teaching them what's right from wrong and they become a teenager, you should not be trying to defend them and be like, oh, they don't know any better. That's how we have assholes in this world. That's how we have like really unchecked kids that, might need a good slap off the back of their head. Just a good slap to be like, yo, stop acting a fool. That's it, right? But it's just a bunch of like nasty comments and everything, and everybody just really being stupid about this. Rather than looking into their own communities and being like, how can I help my own community? If you don't want people to talk bad about your community, you need to at least try to change the perception of your community. Now, as I say that, there are always going to be bad apples in every single community. It is not everyone. We can agree to this. I will say, though, that if you do not want people talking bad about your community when you live in your community and you see this on the daily, I just wish that you guys can be very very honest with yourselves and understand that like perception is everything. And no matter how many times that I say that perception is everything, and this goes when I talk about professional wrestling, this goes where I'm like, hey, New Japan Pro Wrestling is dying. And people are like, no, they're not dying. And it's like, did you not see Tony Khan just sign like the best top guys in like the blink of an eye? You know, perception is everything. Especially in the world of social media, especially in the day and age where everyone has a smartphone and they're videotaping and they're editing and they're using AI and they're basically being like, oh, this is the part of the story that I need you to see for you to get upset. Like nobody takes a moment to calm down and get that emotion out and be like, let's look at this objectively. And I know I'm jumping around everywhere, and it's because like there's way too many thoughts in my head about like how to really talk about this, because originally I wasn't going to talk about this. But maybe I was in like a Discord note. By the way, I do have a brand new Discord, and I do leave Discord notes in there, and those are like the notes of me thinking stuff off the top of my head. It could be advice for content creators. It could be advice for podcasters. It could be advice for whoever it is. But if I feel like something needs to be said but doesn't need to be in a podcast form, it'll go there. Um, but yeah, like everything that I've seen, all of the nasty messages about Hogan dying or people trying to turn it about themselves, and how like it's an attack on you know um the black community and stuff like that, and it's like it's not. The things that he did, which whenever you ask people like what exactly did he do after getting caught by saying the n-word, it's not really substantial. If there was a pattern of repeated offenses, then yeah, we could be mad. But nobody can tell me in chat or in a message, or after the VODs are done for this video, that nobody can tell me exactly what he did that can still have this emotion pinned on so many years after the fact. And by the way, I don't know if we're ever going to get to a place where we could just not say the N word at all. Because me personally, I don't like the N word in any way, shape, or form. I really don't, because it's a nasty word. The history is nasty. And if you noticed, all other types of slurs towards all other types of groups are not said, unless somebody wants to be like edgy and like get the front page of like the newspaper. But like all other slurs that I could think of are not said, except for the one word. But nobody wants to hold rappers and the culture accountable for saying the word all the time, for speaking ill of women and speaking ill of men, and being like, hey, you need to rack up on money, you need to rack up on diamonds, you need to rack up on cars. Don't do anything that is um useful, because rap music takes, different types of forms and stuff like that, and different types of stories and whatnot, and it talks about life and all that kind of stuff, but nobody holds them accountable for like the stuff that they say. But if one person decides to say one word at their lowest point, it's like the end of the world. To spend that much time and energy over somebody that did apologize is kind of the weirdest thing ever, to hold a grudge. And if you really do think that he was talking about you, maybe to a degree, that's right. Or maybe to a degree, it's not right. But that doesn't mean that you have to go and, make it your whole personality when like there's other shit to worry about other than that. And even after the time that he apologized, did the whole court case, and basically told the world that like that wasn't him. And when someone says that wasn't him or that wasn't me, that basically is an apology because they know better. And if somebody knows better, then why can that not be fine to be like, hey, I forgive you? Why is it so difficult to forgive? That is what I want to know. Why is it so difficult to forgive, especially when said person, Hulk Hogan, don't know you and you don't know him? You weren't with him 24/7. You weren't, if you were with him 24/7, then you could have like feeling towards all the shit that he said, all the stuff you want to believe and whatnot. Like you have a stake at like, I was with him 24/7. I know the kind of guy he is, blah 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 blah. But if you weren't with him 24/7, why are you holding on to this energy of being really nasty towards like people who are like already accepting of Hogan and being like, hey, let's celebrate his death. It was unfortunate, rather than being like super nasty. And just because he showed up at Trump's rally and it's all like, nobody likes that kind of stuff. And it's like, that had nothing to do with like any of our lives. You know, we're still able to get up in the morning. We're still able to go to work. We're still able to make content. We're still able to go get coffee that's very convenient at like a Dunkin' Donuts or like a Starbucks. We're able to make choices. We're able to like, choose what we want to do for the day. But people want to spend all day wasting energy for what? You can be contributing to society and going about your day and like making a life that's better for you. Because again, no one really knows anybody. Everybody has secrets. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. Everybody has been at their lowest of the lowest of the lowest, but they're angels. They are angels, and it's like, nah, man, you guys are not angels. I don't know if they do this for like brownie points and high five points to get like to be in this echo chamber, but if you truly want to be progressive in like 2025, you would forget about the N word. You would, try not to say it less. Um, Try to understand what people were in 2007, rather than being like, hey, I was born not too long ago and I'm a 19-year-old and I think I know the whole entire world. Um, which by the way, I don't know how we're gonna, well, we really shouldn't, but 19-year-olds to 25-year-olds, since like they're in the wrestling space, they just gotta not be sheep. Some other comments that like got brought up were like, all the shit that Hogan did about back in the day. Everybody, well, not everybody, a handful of people that listen to the show interviews, were like, oh, he didn't want the union thing to go through, and that and that he was a snitch. People who live in the hood say that, oh, don't snitch, don't you dare snitch, and snitches get stitches and all that kind of shit, right? Sometimes mentally you have to get out of that. Hogan, if someone asked him a question, he would answer it honestly and truthfully, so that doesn't really make him a snitch. It's like, if someone asks you a question, are you not going to answer it? Um because sometimes your homies will throw you under the bus. Um that happens. Like your homies will throw you under the bus no matter if like you decide to snitch or not. But yeah, some people want to be like, oh, Hogan snitched. Um, you know, and then the whole union thing. This is for the 19 to 25-year-olds. A union in wrestling will not work. It looks good on paper, but in my professional opinion, because I work in the indies and whatnot, it will not work. Overall, it might be a good idea if it can like really, really work well, right? However, I personally do not like unions because unions do not help at all. Unions take more money from you, from your check. And then, the 19 to 25-year olds, they think that every wrestler gets paid on the indies. Sometimes they don't. They really don't. They don't know how this works. And every time that I explain it, I have no idea if they are listening or not. But on the indies, most wrestlers do not get paid. Most wrestlers have a fee that like might be reach of certain promoters and might not even get um, paid either way. And then the new wrestlers that are coming out of the schools and graduating basically probably won't get paid. So for a union to work, that means that everybody will have to like at least get paid. However, you guys have to take into consideration of like the budget of the promoter. There are promoters that are shady. There are promoters that, do underhanded, under the table bullshit kind of deals. Or not even deals and whatnot. And then if there was to be a union, that union rep is taking money from like everybody. So he or she is dipping into the pool of the money. And then you also have to remember that like on the indies, there's like no catering sometimes. Um, People got to fend for themselves. Ring crew doesn't get paid. And then if we did have a union and people were like, "Oh, I don't want to work with this wrestler. I don't want to work with that wrestler," that hurts the business. That hurts the teamwork, because in wrestling it is supposed to be a teamwork makes the dream work. It is everybody. It's not just a I thing. It is an every person, all hands on deck when it comes to professional wrestling. So, at the time, a union wouldn't work. And a union still would not work to this day. Just because of how a union is shaped. Um, so I don't know why people are upset that a union is not formed in wrestling when all they do is just parrot what they hear, what other people say online and what they hear. And it's like, do you know what these words mean? Do you know what these job titles mean? If you don't know what these job titles mean, then, don't speak it as if like you know what you're talking about. This is why, I don't like the influx of like the new fans that come into like virtue single. It's like, can you virtue single somewhere else? Like, I would love that. Like, go virtue single somewhere else, because you don't understand wrestling, you don't understand teamwork. Um, why am I offline? Wow. Um, I am offline like on the other two. Um, okay, so I think I might have to do something here to where, okay, give me a second here. It's still streaming. I know that. I think I might just make a decision. Um, I might just make a decision here. Um, because I know what's happening. But first, I need this ad to finish. Um, anyway, so yeah, the all of the new kids that are coming in don't understand teamwork, and you can't expect them to when nobody like teaches about teamwork, when the internet, including TikTok, loves to teach about, it's all about you. It's all about you, sweetie. You better go get the bag. Don't worry about anybody else. And it's like, that's not how you cultivate good people. That's really not how you do that. All you have to do is be like, hey, this is teamwork. Teamwork is not the most flattering thing in the world, depending on like how you grew up in it. I grew up not loving teamwork in school. I just did not look on teamwork. However, teamwork on the indies and in the wrestling scene, you know who works best and you have them the most there versus like the people that don't put in as much work. You can tell. We could tell when you're slacking off. So basically, like, you pick and choose who you want to work with in a way, when it comes to like ring crew and stuff like that. So like, teamwork is best when everybody is on the same vision, the same idea. But yeah, these new kids don't know anything about teamwork and respect. It's all about them. We created a whole entire culture now of like me, 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 rather than like, us and we versus a little bit of like and whatnot. But those are just values that are end up like lost and stuff like that. Um, so let me just read some comments up here. And then I want to make a decision because for some reason I can't do a triple stream. Um, it's just that since I'm new to Rumble, again, I have like no idea how this works. I do appreciate everyone that is tuning in. If anybody wants to say hi over in the Rumble chat, that would be fantastic. Because I really don't know how to use Rumble at all. I don't. But over on the Twitch side of things, I I really need a payout to go through. So that's why I have Twitch happening, and then YouTube is my like main. So yeah. Uh okay. Cuz right now it's making things slow. So I don't know how people's experiences are. And I'm not even sure if I would do like another like standalone podcast episode about this. Um but it is a Sunday. I put it up like once um on Twitter and whatnot. I might have to cut one off. Um, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I am going to take a mini break. When I take that little mini break, I'm going to see what I can do. Um, and yeah, for everyone over on YouTube, I just want to say again, I appreciate you guys so much. Everyone over on Rumble, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope that I can say the R word over here on YouTube. Um, but yeah, let me go take that little mini break. I'll come right back. I'll regroup. If anyone has any questions, drop them in chat and I will answer them. I have no problem answering questions, stuff like that. Uh, I do appreciate people watching and listening. Um, but yeah, I could do like my own Q&A, but I will be right back. Okay, so I can't really. Okay. Enjoy the background while I'm out. I have my mic muted. So this is what we're gonna do. The idea for today's stream was to talk about Hogan, remembering Hogan. I know Jim Cornette dropped a video talking about Hogan.